All right, we're going to look at number 21. In this case here, we're looking at taking a group data and trying to find the variance and standard deviation for that group data. A little bit trickier because we have a little bit of a process here, but that's okay. We'll be all right. What we're going to do is very similar to what we did with number 7 when we want to use the one variable statistics for a set of numbers. Except in this case, what we're going to do is we need to find the midpoint and put that in one column and put the frequencies in another column, and then it actually kicks out all of our answers for it. It's a beautiful thing. So first thing is to go to our list, we press the stat button, and the stat button takes us into our edit option. Number 1 is where we want to go into to edit our list, so we press enter. Remember, I need to clear my list number 1. So go up on top of the L1. So I'm up here on top, see it's blacked out. I press clear. And now at this point, I press enter to actually clear the data out of the list. Now since I'm going to put information in L1 and L2, now I'm going to go over to L2. I'm going to go up on top of L2. See how I'm up here on top? I'm going to press clear. And now I'm going to press enter to clear that list also. Now, this next piece, you've got a couple options. So your first option here is you can come over here and you can take your pen, you can write your list down, and you can find the midpoint. So like I could actually come and say, okay, well 90 plus 27 divided by 2. Well, that's 117 divided by 2. And I don't know what that is, so just give me 1 second. Second, quit. And I take 117 and I divide it by 2 and I get, okay, so I can do that and I come back to my stat and I go to edit again and I can type in right there what that number was. Okay, and I can keep on doing that. I keep on saying, okay, well I have 91 plus 154, divide that by 2, and then I can take my 155 plus my 218, divide that by 2, and I can keep on finding my midpoints for each one of these sets. That seems like a lot of work to me. So what I suggest to you is this. We can do that all in the graphing calculator. So right here where it's asking for me to describe or type in L1, let's just do this. Our first midpoint is going to be, open parentheses, 90 plus 27, or take that sum, so we take the numerator, we add it together, and we divide that by 2. And watch what happens when I press enter. It kicks out and puts my midpoint right there in there. So let's keep on going through there. And you kind of watch the process with me, and then you can go back and push pause and re-enter yours and watch and so forth. Okay, so our next one was 91 plus 154. Now you notice it didn't matter whether I take the first number and add the last number to it, or take the last number and add the first number to it, because the point is I'm adding them together. So I take open parentheses, oops, clear, open parentheses, 91 plus 154 divided by, oops, close parentheses, divided by 2 equals, there we go. Okay, the third one, open parentheses, 155 plus 218, close parentheses, divided by 2, enter. Okay, next one. Open parentheses, fourth one down is 219. 219 plus open parentheses. Whoa, sorry about that. Just go back. And 219 plus 282, 82. Close parentheses, divide it by, oops, come back over here. Oops, let's come back over here. And I need to delete a few things. So delete, delete, delete. Perfect. And divide that by 2. And I get 250. I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to hit pause. And so the next one would be open parentheses, 283 plus 346, close parentheses, divided by 2, enter. Okay, so I'm going to hit pause for a minute. I'm going to continue filling up my list, and then we'll come back and we'll put the frequencies in together. Alright, so I have all of my midpoints entered into the graphing calculator. And so at this point, what I'm up to is I'm ready to go back and put my frequencies in. So I'm just going to move myself over to L2 and go up to the top there. Default, it goes up to the top. I'm going to start entering those in. So my first one is 13, enter, 2, enter, 0, enter, 5, enter, 0, enter, 2, enter, 0, enter, 1, enter, 2, enter. And very important thing is right here, you notice that I get to 569 and 2. I want to make sure my data sets line up. That's very important in this case. I'm actually going to take a moment and hit pause. I'm going to, okay, I'm back. So now once we've gone through and done that, remember we can follow these keys up here. We press the stat button at this point. Oops, let me come up a little bit so you can see. So we've entered our midpoints in L1, we've entered our frequencies in L2. Now we go back to our stat button. We're on number 3 up here. We go over to calc. We're going to go into number 1. And once we get in the number 1, remember we want to do of L1. So we say second L1, comma, second. And you notice L2 is the number 2 key. So we press L2, followed by the enter key. And what we get on our screen is we get the mean of the data set. So it's taken into consideration that we had 13 numbers. It takes into consideration that we had 13 numbers that fell between 27 and 90. We don't know what they are. We just know that there's 13 of them. It took in consideration we had 2 between 91 and 154, none between 155 and 218, 5 between 219 and 282, and so forth and so on. And it comes through there and it tells us, give me one second. Alright, so key thing is here is that it tells us that our standard deviation is 172.0857. So we could say 172 if we wanted to. Our mean is 186. And another key thing for us to think about here is the fact that what would be our variance. So I told you a minute ago that one way we could do our variance is that we can just take the standard deviation. So we can just take, let me get a pen. We could just take the S of x, which is equal to 172 point, I'm just going to call it 0.9, okay, because the 5 rounds the 8 up to a 9. And so our variance is the standard deviation squared. And so in that case there, we can come over to our calculator, we can say 172.09. We can square that, and we come out with our variance is 29,614 point, we'll call it 97. Another way of doing that, just real quickly, not to lose people, but if you did want to just pull your variance up on the screen, if you go to your vars key and you go to your y vars, and give me one second. Sorry about that, I was taking you in the wrong direction, that's why I hit pause real quick. If you want to just pull up the standard deviation on your screen, what you can do is you can hit, what was it? We're going to hit vars. And we go into vars, we're going to go down to number 5. And on number 5, you notice it says statistics. Press enter. And there is your standard deviation. So I'm going to go down to number 3. I get to number 3, I'm going to press enter. That brings my standard deviation to the home screen. If I press enter right now, you'll notice it pulls up my standard deviation. So if I wanted to square that, I'm going to go ahead and go back to there. So I go vars. I go down to number 5, so you can see this again. And I go down to number 3. Oops, there we go. I pull it up, and I want to square that. So I just put the square on it and press enter. And there is my my standard deviation. I'm sorry, my variance, excuse me. So just a couple of quick shortcut ways of finding things on your graphing calculator. And ultimately, the main question is here is, does this set vary? And the answer to this statement would be yes, because our standard deviation is 172. That's a very large standard deviation, which means that this group data does vary, which we can clearly see. Because if you look at this data, look, we've got a bunch of numbers down low, a bunch of numbers in the middle, and a little bit of numbers right here. So we've got this spread of behavior in the situation, what's going on with our numbers.